Hey there everybody, welcome back to what will be our last set of notes for our Math 11 trig unit. Last time we learned about the sine law, and this time we're going to keep on moving on, and we're going to get another tool in the toolbox called the cosine law. And so you'll recall that if we have a situation where we've got the side, angle, and side of a triangle, so if I have any triangle where I know, for example, one of the sides, and then the angle, and then the other side right next to it, I can't use sine law to solve that. The other situation you can run into is if you have a triangle and you know all the sides. So if I know side, 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 but I don't know any of the angles, I also get stuck with the sine law. And so that's where we need another tool, and that's called the cosine law. So again, I'm going to do a quick derivation here, or a relatively quick derivation that kind of shows where this comes from. I think it's useful that you see that it doesn't just spring out of a textbook and then we know it to be true. But I wouldn't expect you to do this derivation on a test or anything. It's just kind of a math fun. So if I have a triangle ABC where the sides are also labeled ABC, and we're given measures for the angle C, and then I'm given the measure of side A and side B. So that's my side, angle, side situation. I'd have to find a way to calculate the other sides. And so what I could do is I could drop an altitude from the top of B right there. And what happens there is that makes a right angle. So that's just a line that goes from the peak and it's perpendicular to this bottom line here. So I'm going to call the height of that H. Okay? But just recognize that when I do that, I've kind of split this other triangle into two smaller triangles. And both of those smaller triangles are right angle triangles. And so the distance from here to here is no longer B. I'm going to call the distance from there to there, I'm going to call that X. Which means then that the distance across the rest of the triangle, or across the second triangle on the right there, that distance would be B minus X. And so because I've got two right angle triangles, I'm going to do a little bit of Pythagoras and just see what I can find out. So I'm going to start looking at this triangle. Maybe I'll just kind of label them. I'll just call them triangles 1 and 2. So there's triangle 1 and triangle 2, so we know what we're talking about. So for triangle 1, first thing I do is I'm just going to do Pythagoras and see where that ends up. So the A is the hypotenuse of triangle 1, so I would get A squared is equal to the two other sides squared, the sum of them. So x squared plus h squared. Okay? I don't know x or h, so I'm kind of at a loss. So I'm going to keep on going here. Let's try the same thing with this other triangle. This one's going to be a little bit more complicated, but let's look at side C as my hypotenuse. Side C squared is going to equal h squared plus, and then this side here would be b minus x, and that whole thing is going to be squared. So a reminder that I know a and b, but I don't know x and I don't know h. So I've kind of got to deal with those. I'm going to try and eliminate one of them. One way to do that is to just rearrange this equation here, this first one that I come up with. I'm going to rearrange that. I'm going to minus x squared from both sides. And I'm going to end up with just h squared. So h squared is equal to a squared minus x squared. Okay, and the other thing I'm going to do over with this other equation is I'm going to expand this out and just see what this ends up being. So I get c squared equals h squared plus, when I FOIL that out, that's going to turn into b squared minus 2bx and then plus x squared. I'm just following that same pattern we looked at when we FOIL out those binomials. So now what? Well, I actually found that h squared is equal to a squared minus x squared. So I can actually take this whole thing and I could substitute this in here for h squared because they are the same. And so I get c squared equals a squared minus x squared plus b squared minus 2bx plus x squared. And that is horrible to look at. But some really good news here is that these two terms, look at this, I've got a minus x squared there and I've got a plus x squared there. So those two terms are going to cancel out. And so I've got a slightly less horrible looking, but still not super friendly, c squared equals a squared plus b squared minus 2bx. Now, we're nearly there. One thing I want to point out is just notice the first chunk of this. We've almost found the cosine law, but notice how the first chunk of it, it's actually just Pythagoras all over again. It's just that since our original triangle isn't a right angle triangle, we've got to have this little additional piece here that we add on in order to solve it. But we're not quite done, because remember, we don't know what x is. So if I remember, this was triangle 1. So triangle 1 here. Remember, this was angle C, and this was side A, and this was x, and this was h. And that was angle C. So I don't know x, but I do know angle C. So I could talk about the cosine of angle C. The cosine of angle C would equal x over a. And then if I rearrange that, I could write that as x is equal to a times the cosine of C. And again, I'm going to do this little trick where I say, well, hold on a second. If x is equal to this, it's equal to a times the cosine of C, I could take this thing and substitute in there for x. And so this would be rewritten as c squared equals a squared plus b squared minus 2b a cos c, which is the cosine law. So actually, I'll just write it here. C squared equals a squared plus b squared. Starts just like Pythagoras, but then minus, and I'm just going to write this as 2 times a times b times the cosine of c. And so I just have to have that additional factor there to make up for the fact that it's not a right angle triangle. And this is going to work for any triangle. It doesn't have to be a right angle triangle, any triangle at all, where we know side, 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 or side, angle, side. So we've got a problem here. So a surveyor needs to find the length of a swampy area near a fishing lake, Manitoba. Okay, sounds likely. The surveyor sets up her transit at point A and then measures the distance to one end of the swamp as 468.2 meters and the distance to the opposite end of the swamp as 692.6 meters. Very precise, apparently. And the angle of sight between them is 78.6 degrees. Determine the length of the swampy area. So I think this is we're gonna need a little picture. So here's my swampy area there. I can't really draw a swamp, so we'll just do that. She sets herself up here at this point, and then she measures the distance to this end of the swamp as 468.2 meters, and the distance to this end of the swamp as 692.2 meters. And then the angle that she measures here is 78.6. Now I'm going to just say, forget that, this problem, called that A. I don't like that. I'm going to call this C. Okay, and we'll see why in a second. So what we're trying to find here is the missing side of essentially what is a triangle that goes like this. So this is our missing side that cuts across here. Basically, how long is it across that swamp? And so that would just be side C of this triangle. Well, cosine law, c squared equals a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine c. Since I know the side, the angle, and the side, I can find the opposing side. So c squared is just going to equal, let's see, 692.2 squared plus 468.2 squared minus 2 times 692.2 times 468.2 times the cosine of 78.6 degrees. And then notice that if I want to actually solve this, I actually have to take the square root of both of those massive things. So what I might do, and it's up to you how you want to do this, but I might put this in my calculator in 2 steps. So I might do this first step and then just take the square root afterwards. So 692.2 squared plus 468.2 squared minus 2 times 692.2 times 468.2 times the cosine of 78.6 degrees. Holy smokes, that's a huge amount of mess. So there's my answer. But now I'm just going to go second function square root of that answer, and I get an answer of 755. To the nearest tenth of a meter, so 755.1. Now, it's useful to look back, and again, I didn't draw my picture perfectly to scale, but I think it's close-ish, and so when I look at this picture, yeah, it makes sense that this side could be right around 755 meters. That's in the ballpark of reason. If I got an answer of 100 meters or something like that, that really wouldn't have worked. Okay, so let's look at one more example here. So the Lionsgate Bridge Lionsgate Bridge has been a landmark since 1938. It's the longest suspension bridge in Western Canada. Who knew? The bridge is strengthened by triangular braces. So if you look on the side of it, there's these triangular braces. Suppose one brace has side lengths of 14, 19, and 12.2 meters. Determine the measure of the opposite 14-meter side to the nearest degree. So I'm going to draw a triangle that's 14, 19, and 12 meters. So 14, 19, and 12 meters. Well, okay, maybe I'll draw the 12.2. Okay, maybe I'll draw 12.2. So 12.2 might be something like this. 12.2. Now, you got to be careful because if I draw this, if this is 12.2, if I try to draw my 14 meters that way, then the third side of my triangle is supposed to be 19, and it's not really going to work out. So think about how you're going to draw this. I think the only way to have this is to have the 14 kind of angled maybe just slightly that way at 14 meters. And then now this side right here, that could be 19. And so that's maybe, yeah, not perfectly to scale, but that looks roughly reasonable. The 19 meters is the longest side, the 12.2 is the shortest. And so we're looking for measure the angles, the angle opposite the 14-meter side. So this is what we want to find right here. We want to find that angle. So it doesn't matter. I can call any sides A and B and C. And I mentioned this before that with Pythagoras, C had to be the hypotenuse. When you're doing sine law and cosine law, there is no hypotenuse. So A and B and C can be whichever sides you want. So this is angle C. That makes this side C, which I guess this could then be side A and side B. It really doesn't matter which ones you choose. And so if I come up with my cosine law, a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine c, just have to be careful here because I actually want to solve for the angle. I've got all the sides. So I'm going to do a little bit of algebra first. First I'm going to move a and b over to the other side. So I get c squared minus a squared minus b squared equals negative 2ab cosine of c. And then I'm going to divide by negative 2ab. So I get the cosine of c is equal to c squared minus a squared minus b squared, all divided by negative 2ab. And that's going to let me find our cosine value. So what do we got here? C is 14, so 14 squared minus 19 squared, and my 4s and 9s do look like the same thing, so make sure you get them different. All of that divided by negative 2 times 14 times 19. Oh, sorry. Not 14. 2 times 19 times 12.2. Okay. And so let's see what we get there. Be real careful putting this into your calculator. Okay, I've got 14 squared minus 19 squared minus 12.2 squared. I'm going to break this into chunks. So I'm going to do the numerator first, equals this. I'm going to divide that by negative 2 times 19 times 12.2. And I get this answer, 0.6676. 0.677 roughly when I round it off. So C is going to equal the inverse cosine of 0.677. And I'll just use that full number here. So second function cosine of my answer gives me 47 degrees. 47 degrees. And again, I'm glad that I did a to scale drawing here because that could be about 47 degrees. That looks reasonable. Okay, so that is it for the cosine law.